Hey YouTube, Homestead the Hard Way here. Just documenting a case of removing a intake manifold on a 2017 Dodge Ram 2500 pickup with a 6.4 liter or 392 V8. I ran across a lot of videos showing us how to replace or actually remove this bad boy. And there are some subtle differences that can make a difference in how much time it takes you to remove one of these guys. It's not really complicated, so if you're looking at these videos with the intent of swapping out your manifold, and there's a lot of videos out there about swapping the 392 intake onto the 5.7 liters, and I understand that's a really good low dollar value, high horsepower increase. And if you run across a 6.4 liter engine and you want to get it off, and it's at a boneyard or somewhere else, this might help you get there. All the videos that I looked at regarding removing the intake manifold were pretty comprehensive. But the one frustrating piece that they had was the only thing that gave me problems were the things on the back. And they're all different. Every single video that I saw was actually different in how they approached what was on the back, because oftentimes they are different, and there are different applications, whether it's a Challenger or a Charger or anything like that with the 6.4 in it versus a pickup, which is what I have. The one thing that actually made the huge difference on me in trying to get it out, that I wrestled for a couple of hours with, was related to the wiring harness. I'm going to step up here so you guys can see a little bit better. So if you notice, right across the back going here is a wiring harness that actually contains all of the wiring for the fuel injectors on both sides, and some other stuff that's going around there. And if you look really closely, if I can get in there and get it to kind of pick up, on this side is a screw mount that's at a right angle. So it's flat here and then at right angles down the back. And there was one, I'll get to that in a second, but there was one over here that did the same thing. It comes out flat, and then there's a screw hole, so it's adjoining to a bolt that's coming up on the back of the manifold. There's also a tab. It's hard to see in this angle because everything's black, but there's a tab that comes straight down. It's about an inch long, and it slides into slots on the back of the manifold. So what I did, and I did this the wrong way, I started over here trying to pry up on this because I knew it had to come off, and there's a 10mm nut that holds onto the bolt. That's the bolt is factory sealed into the top of the manifold. So you remove the nut on that side, and then in my mind I was like, I should be able to just pry this up and out. Well, this side is a lot more stiff than that side. This side has a lot more give, and it's higher up on the manifold, if you notice too. That one sits up a little bit higher. So what I had done was, let's switch hands here. What I had done was, while the fuel rails were in and the manifold was still in, I got my screwdriver under one of these ridges that's in here after the bolts were off, and I was able to get enough leverage to pry this up and off of the bolt that sticks out, that protrudes vertically out of the back of the manifold. I was just in the process of putting all this back together again when I realized somebody else might be having the same kind of problem and wasting a couple of hours like I did with colorful language and everything else. So I was just about to button this up, and you can tell I've got the rags still stuck in the intake manifolds going down into the valve heads. So I was just I pulled that side out, and I was ready to button it all out and start sliding it all back in when I realized somebody else could probably benefit from this. So for reference, let me back out again. Back on the intake manifold, this is the spindle that sticks up, or the bolt, the head that's factory mounted inside the back on the right side. And then this is the one on the left side, right here. Oh, it's not focusing. Great, awesome. Let me step around so you can see a little bit better. Let's see if we can get one more clear shot there. There we go. So this bolt right here is the one that mates up, and the one that you want to undo first. That will actually get you unstuck from that wiring harness. Then coming back here, I'm sure this is not going to show up very well, but yeah, it is. What do you know? These are the tab slots that the tabs in the back of the wiring harness will slide down into. All the work that I did on getting this out, I got it all done, and I knew it was flopping around in there. I got all the bolts out. Everything was great. Didn't take me long to get to this point, but it took me a good couple of hours wrestling with this and trying to figure it out. And every video I saw says, yeah, I kind of struggle with this stuff on the back, but I eventually got it off. And nobody had any clear instructions on how to pull it out. And nobody was showing the back of what the back of the manifold looks like, so you know how to take it apart. So hopefully my pain is your gain. And then the whole other reason that you might be looking at this is maybe what I was looking at too, which is I bought this truck at auction about a week ago, and basically I knew what was wrong with it. The auctioneer had said that it was running rough when they brought it into the auction site, and everybody kind of bailed off and said, no, I'm not going to go for it. But I knew exactly what the issue was. And on these engines, if you're familiar with them, they have an MDS system, multi-displacement system, where it basically turns off 4 of the cylinders when you're cruising around in town. So when you're cruising around town and everything's all on the 4-cylinder mode, it limps. And I don't mean limp like as in the factory limp where it puts it into severe mode where you can only go 5 miles an hour to get where you're wanting to go. It's missing, and it was throwing error codes. I want to say, I'm going to do this from memory and I'm going to mess somebody up, but it was P0301 and P1411. This is all out of my memory, so if I'm wrong, don't flame me. But what it pointed to was this MDS sensor right here being bad. And this MDS sensor, if you notice, is kind of buried in here with some of the EGR stuff. So it's not real easy to get out, but you can get these 2 bolts out and get enough slack to really flip this up a little bit. I propped it up with a big giant, like probably a 1-inch socket, and stuck it up into there, and it kind of propped it up, or maybe it was 1 1/8 inch, I'm not sure. Big old socket, stuck it up in there, moved this side just enough so I can get this guy out and replace. And he's all shiny because it's brand new. But there's the other one for cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4 or something, but it's one of the other cylinders. Well, it's probably cylinder 2. So there's 4 of them. There's another one here, and then there's another one. You can barely see it right there. So it basically shuts off those 4 respective cylinders so that you're cruising around town. You don't need a lot of power. It shuts those 4 cylinders off, so then you're only running on 4 cylinders and getting better gas mileage and stuff. So if you're in the market of having to replace one of those, or you're getting those same codes, or you know for a fact that that's what the deal is, there's a bunch of other videos out on YouTube for that. And there's a couple of really good tutorials on getting those out and removed, because I can tell you for sure, the one consistency is they don't come out in one piece. They're force fit down into the holes, and there's a couple of O-rings that hold them in there, and then the first thing that happens is you pry off, and you're going to pop off that top cap, the metal part that just separates from the body, and then the body is left stuck down in the hole, and it goes about 2 inches deep. So then you got to come back. The easiest way that I did, and this is the way that I did, is I just drove a timber bolt, a timber screw, a 6-inch timber screw in there, and then propped a bolt or a block up on this side of the engine, of the valve cover or the head, and yanked straight up with a pry bar. You can use a claw hammer or anything else, anything that's going to help you pry straight up. So that was the fun. Now I'm all at the point of getting it all back in there. I got some of the stuff shined up, and obviously I've got a valve cover leak, valve cover gasket leaking on this side that I got to take care of in another day when I feel like it. But in the meantime, everything else seems like it's good to go. I got new intake manifold gaskets, and got 4 new MDSs. I'm going to put the rest of them on. I may do it while I still got it out. I haven't decided yet. Might just replace them all 4, because if one was bad, there's a good chance the rest of them are on their way out. So, but that wiring harness there will give you shit if you don't know what's going on back there. It will kick you 9 ways from Tuesday, and it is so tight up against the firewall
there is no way to get behind it to see what's going on, and that's just the nature of when they put these motors in. They get all the wiring harness in, and then they drop the motor in, and then you, as the mechanic, can't see anything of what's going on behind there. And so you can thank the engineers for putting it all together that way. But it's not so tough to get it apart once you know how it all goes together. And I hope this does save somebody some swearing and some angry fits. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.